Hey, what's going on, folks? So I got to give props to StreamYard here tonight. They just added a feature now where you can put in your video as you go, and that way I just hit go and it went straight into the video. So that is pretty cool. We are on open mic night tonight, and we have our crew with us. Hopefully, another one's joining us. But let's bring them in. We'll do one at a time. We'll bring in Jamie first. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, Adam? I'm doing fantastic. Joe and I just wrapped up our Bills conversation room, and that Sunday night game. All I had to say was woof, but I kind of saw it coming.
Right, right. Well, speaking of your partner, let's bring him in. Partner in crime, Joe. How are you, buddy? Long time no talk, no see. I know we
Yes,
talked
a
about dates.
couple of very busy Tuesday nights here, so forgive me, but glad to be here tonight. And again, fresh off another podcast that Jamie and I just completed, so hopefully to be able to make some positive contributions.
It's about time we saw each other again, Joe. We don't. It feels like we just did, but we didn't, right?
I know it's been a whole 10 minutes.
Well, hopefully you got some water and maybe a little snack, and we're gonna bring in our next guest. We're gonna go with Dylan. Dylan, what's up, buddy?
Thank you, guys. By the way, as a fan of the only 0-4 team, Joe. Let me tell you this: we pooped our pants 4 times this year. So welcome to all world.
All
You
right.
freaking had that Houston game won, buddy. That's what was funny.
We find more ways of losing. I mean, we haven't won a game since Week 12 in Houston last year, and the only game we won was against the Carolina Panthers.
Do you think what did you think of freaking the KG Doug Peterson trying to go ahead?
Before we jump, we do have I do have to bring in my partner in crime for the Pittsburgh show. Rich, how are you, sir?
I'm getting too far ahead of myself. How you doing?
What's going on, man? How's it going, guys?
Jamie's
Good.
ready.
How you doing?
Jamie's ready to go like always. Rich,
Dylan, I just got to ask one question real quick, Dylan. How long till our buddy Mac Jones is the starter?
Never.
He's only made one appearance, and that was in relief against the Bills when both teams put their second string in on Monday night.
I don't know about you. I would have rather seen Mac Jones play last night than Snoop Huntley.
Well, speaking of backups, we got to see one last night. I know he didn't do great, but will he be the starter going forward? I don't know anything that's going on with Levi there. Anyone know anything with that update?
I don't know, but I was watching him, and he actually was looking not that bad. I mean, until he hurt his shoulder there, and then Rudolph came in. But the one thing I do think that's going to help both going forward, I watched the game, is I didn't know this. They got rid of Derrick Henry, obviously, but the one good thing they were able to do was build an offensive line. And Joe and I talked about it on our show. It's a young offensive line, but I feel like it's a line that I think could improve as the season goes on. And maybe they found their formula with Rudolph. Just try to run the ball more with Pollard to get that line going, and then throw when he needs to.
Don't leave out Spears, man. He's a pretty good 1-2 punch in that lineup.
Like I said, it's taken a while for them to build continuity because their offensive line's got a lot of first and second year players starting. But
there he is, my far right. There he is. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Sorry, I lost track of time watching some film study of the.
I saved the day though, Evan. You saw my message, right?
No, I was watching the all 22 of some tape.
You said what time, and I wrote you could hop on now.
I didn't see it.
I sent it to the driving to the top DM thing. But anyway, as Stephen A. Smith would say, I digress.
Now, Evan, I've got a question for you.
Oh God! Open mic night.
You know the object is to score points this year. Well, what's the only team to not score 20 points in a game this year?
There's two
That's
teams.
a good question.
Jaguars.
Right, it's two.
One.
There's two teams.
The
Jaguars
Panthers.
scored 20 against.
Wait, no, the Panthers. The Panthers did score 20.
Yeah,
Who's the other
'cause of the
team?
redheaded
Oh, you're
Rockets.
saying 20 all season. I get it. Never mind.
Cleveland.
I was going to say the Browns.
Yep.
We've scored more than 20 points.
in
Okay.
one game.
I'm
In
guessing.
one game.
You
The
just
Browns
changed the goal. You just changed the goal line.
No, I said. What's the only team to not score 20 points in a single game this year?
Your team
Giants?
didn't either, Dylan. You only got 10 against Buffalo.
No, we scored
Right.
20. We scored 20 against the Texans.
Yeah, but you I thought you were gonna say all season. That was the problem. We thought it was all season.
Was it the Giants?
No, I think the Giants
No,
scored
Giants.
22 against the Browns. 20 or 22
All right.
against the Browns.
Yeah, it was 20 there.
Then I have no idea.
Then it'd be the Browns.
Melissa said, "What up, fellas? Hope you're all well. We're good, Melissa. Thanks for
Yeah,
commenting."
good to see you, Melissa.
Hey,
Hey Melissa, you can come. You can come in. We need you in here. I can't corral these knuckleheads by myself.
she gonna have a hard time doing that too.
Oh my God.
Okay, so quarter of the way through the season, we've seen everybody play 4 games. Some good, some bad, some ugly. What is the biggest surprise of the 2024 season so far, positively?
The Seahawks.
The biggest
start.
positive surprise?
Jaden Daniels.
That too.
The
Yes.
Steelers.
That's not a surprise.
By the way,
It is a surprise.
By the way,
Wait, did everyone just say Jaden Daniels isn't surprised? I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Rich, your
I'm
coach.
not surprised.
Rich
I
said.
picked him to go number 2 in the overall draft. And whenever we did our draft on here, our mock draft with all the guys, and I thought that was the right spot for him.
He should have been the number 1 pick, if we're being honest. But the biggest surprise is the Steelers.
I have
No.
no idea.
I was gonna say that too.
Yes, it is the Steelers.
Why? Let's hear it.
Because through 4
Go ahead.
weeks you're 3-1, and you should be 4-0. That's a surprise. I'm not saying I didn't expect you guys to win the games, win some games, but to be 3-1 through 4 weeks is something, especially with Justin Fields coming out the gate 3-0. I thought he would have a good year, but to come out the gate 3-0 and not have a turnover issue, that's a surprise.
If you guys remember when we did all this stuff at the beginning of the season, I had us going 7-2 in the first 9 games. Then the last 8 was going to be a little different story. But I had us 7-2 in those first 9 games. But the biggest surprise of the season, come on, guys, it's in the NFC North. Sam
Vikings.
Darnold has the Vikings as the
Oh, yeah.
best offense in football right now.
Not
Sam
surprised by that.
Darnold?
Not
They have
surprised
to
by
win.
that.
This is
They
the
have-
Sam Darnold we were expecting in 2018, right? I mean, I agree with that. I was going to say Seattle, like Jamie said, even though they lost last night. Didn't expect to see them play so well after Pete Carroll there. But, yeah, I think the Vikings does trump that.
Wait.
Um,
Wait. I'm sorry. I got to ask a question. I'm sorry, Dylan. I know you're running the show, but I got to ask a question. Why is this surprising? When the 2 places Sam Darnold has been have been shit shows.
well, I mean, the New York Jets can't get quarterback right, and we know David Tepper's the worst owner in sports. I mean, the Panthers go through quarterbacks faster than the Atlanta Braves will go through pitching tonight.
Well, it's not exactly like the Vikings. I mean, when they lost their guy there, I mean, they're not as bad as those other couple of places you're talking about, but it's not like the Vikings were the Patriots either, you know. I just didn't think he had it, and maybe that he was underperforming and that he wasn't the guy we thought he was, but he's obviously proving, you know, that very possibly he is.
Here's the one thing about
It doesn't hurt that you have the number 1 receiver in football and arguably a
Right.
top 10 running back in football either. It doesn't hurt.
And a top,
And he's
I would
getting
say,
one
I
of
would
the
say a
best
top,
running back. He's getting Hawkinson back next week or next week, 2
Okay.
weeks.
How can you
Right.
leave out Jordan Addison too in this conversation?
Huh?
and Jordan Addison, right?
And Jordan Addison, yeah.
Oh, by the way, how about Brian Flores? I mean, I don't like Brian Flores as head coach, but the Viking defense this year has been harassing everyone.
The way he just dials up pressure and just goes after teams and blitzes. I mean, why not?
I mean, he ate Jordan Love for lunch in the first half. I mean, the final score shouldn't have been that close.
Brian Flores is another one of those guys that is an unbelievable coordinator. Not a good head coach, but a
Right.
phenomenal coordinator.
Here's the one thing about Sam Darnold, though. Look at the last two places he went to. San Francisco and Minnesota. What do they both have in common? Great offensive minds with Kyle Shanahan and Kevin O'Connor. And we saw last year where Kevin O'Connor played with coach like 17 quarterbacks.
He did nothing like this in San Francisco, though. When he got a chance to play, he did nothing like what he's doing in Minnesota, man.
He also was the backup though to Brock Purdy. Now he's the full-time starter.
I think they're letting him throw the ball and do what he wants.
He's a gunslinger. Let him throw that ball like Brett Favre, baby.
I mean, look at what the Commanders did with Jaden Daniels. They practically went in and said, "Hey, here's what you did at LSU. Let's run it back."
And by the way, who said the Commanders would win the NFC East this year?
You did, Dylan.
Thank you.
I still haven't won it.
You got a long way to go, my friend.
So that leads me into my next question. Who's been the biggest disappointment so far?
Team-wise or player?
It could be player-wise, it could be team-wise, and don't say anything about injuries because if you say Christian McCaffrey, biggest disappointment,
If we taking injuries off the board, it's got to be the Bengals.
I think the Jets right now.
oof.
Oh, that's
Hell
a tough
yeah.
question.
It is
Gotta-
a tough question because there's 4 or 5 viable answers to that.
Tennessee, I think too.
I think one of our favorite teams in this chat here, that's 0-4,
Oh gosh.
right?
That's a team
that's-
that's way too talented to be 0-4.
We should not.
Right.
Honestly, the Jacks should not be 0-4 with Trevor Lawrence, Super Bowl winning head coach, all these guys on offense. But Doug Peterson is going to be gone after this year if he doesn't shut up.
And I'm not falling for this Cincinnati Bengals thing again. I've seen this movie too many times. How many times do we think, oh, that's it, they stink this year, they're going to be out of the picture. They're still going to
They
win
come
the
back.
AFC North.
Wait. Joe Burrow has a losing record against the Browns. He's 500 against the Steelers, who are hot. He's going to play them first, which I don't think is a win. So that's a draw. And their run defense has been trash. And you really think they're going to stop? They're going to beat the Ravens at least once?
The Bengals aren't going to beat the Ravens this Sunday. I mean, I don't know about you, but nobody stopped it. I mean, Jamie, you and Joe saw Derrick Henry run the first play, 87 yards for a touchdown. I'm like
I said, the Ravens run a freaking modern day version of the wing T or the triple option in college. It's like, and Joe and I talked about it. Chris Collinsworth, he even said it. He's like, you don't see this type of offense in the NFL. Like this is like high school and college. The Navy Academy runs this type of offense.
Biggest disappointment player-wise this year is Mark Andrews because the last 2 weeks, Jamie, you caught more passes than Mark Andrews, but team-wise, it's got to be the Eagles. And I know,
But isn't
No,
Andrews?
like I said, Mark Andrews isn't making enough catches because they're just running it down teams' throats. They're not even passing. That's why.
honestly, I thought Mark Andrews could be the number one tight end this year. He's not even the number one tight end on his own team right now.
Yeah.
But isn't he coming off a dislocated ankle?
Yes,
like I said,
coming off of an injury
up this year too.
and then team-wise,
if you're going individual player, the biggest disappointment's in Kansas City.
which one?
Anybody seen signs of Travis Swift anywhere?
Yeah,
We called-
Bad thing is I have him on my fantasy team. The one year I draft him, I get burned by him.
I
He
heard
played
he's
well
on
on
the side of
Sunday,
milk
but that's
cartons
it.
in Kansas City, man.
Um,
Where's he at?
He's invisible.
Doing nothing, yeah.
oh, this is about to get really good, fellas. Hey, Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, Salem
So,
fan.
What's up, Melissa? How are you? Long time no talking.
How are you guys?
Hey, stranger.
We were talking biggest disappointment in the league so far. Who's here?
You know, I'm
It's-
agreeing with Melissa on the
it's-
Eagles.
It's either the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, especially the way everyone crowned him after 1 year, or it's Dak Prescott and CD Lamb
Ooh.
because they both got paid. Micah didn't get paid, and yet that offense is worse than ever.
It's really
Well,
can't
easy
run the
too,
ball.
Melissa. The Cowboys don't have a running game either.
They barely beat the Giants.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They
don't
put
have
up
a-
80 points
the seven-
easy on the Giants last year, and they could barely put up 20 this year.
That's because last year they had
The seven
Tony
of us
Pollard
and
the
4
running
other
game.
people
This year
could
they
beat
don't
the
have a
Giants.
running
Come on.
game.
No, honestly,
It doesn't matter how much you play your quarterback. If you don't have a running game, it's not going to help.
Well, the Eagles are the biggest disappointment because with Jalen Hurts, Saquon, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown, the Eagles should be in the Super Bowl, and yet Jalen Hurts regressing. Nick Sirianni is a bottom 5 head coach. The coordinators don't know what the Blues would do, and not for Saquon being the best running back in football this year, or second best next to Derrick Henry. The Eagles would be 0-4.
So you're saying Saquon Barkley's having a better year than Jordan Mason right now?
Yes.
I disagree with that. Because
Jordan Mason's a dog.
as
I watched
much
him on
as-
Monday Night Football.
as much as my team struggled this year in 2 games, Jordan Mason has never dropped a ball the way Saquon did against the Falcons. And it's not just this year, that's throughout his career.
Yeah, Mason's been averaging
Big
7.
plays, big moments, Saquon comes up small. And even he said that he fell back on his old patterns.
Mason's averaged like what, 17, 18 points a week in fantasy. I'll take that. I'll take one if he doesn't pick up a run. He's not worth shit.
But definitely the NFC East is probably the biggest disappointment this year because all of them are trying to prove something and they're all not showing up aside from the Commanders.
And by the way, if Dak Prescott won the Giants, that's a playoff team.
Yeah, no.
Wait, did you just say Dak on the Giants is a playoff team?
100%.
Dog,
100%.
that ain't nothing but the Dallas Cowboys North.
No. Let me explain. If Dak Prescott's on the Giants, you could argue in many ways Malik Neighbors is a more physically gifted receiver than CeeDee Lamb.
Stop it.
Okay, but here's the thing. Dak Prescott needs to be protected, and he always freaks out when he doesn't have perfect protection. Giants don't have perfect protection, so that's one. Two, they do not have...
Wait, time out. The Giants have a better offensive line. Andrew Thomas is better than anybody on Dallas's O-line.
Right,
Yeah,
but what
I
are their
got a young
numbers?
offensive
Okay,
line.
but I'm talking like long-term, season-wide. We don't know how well these guys are going to hold up. A lot of them are new there.
That's how it is when you're working with new linemen like that. You
And
don't pay the running backs anymore. Sometimes
two,
your offensive line
they
takes
have
time to
no
gel.
run game. Like
Huh?
zero run game.
Well, neither team's got a running game right now. I mean,
And the difference is the Cowboys have this ability when you think they're out, they pick on the bad teams and put up like 40 points and then they make themselves look like all-stars. Giants don't do that.
well, yeah,
Like Giants will like squeak to the very end and barely maybe squeak out a win the way they did against the Browns.
well, because
And it was a
Daniel
good
Jones-
They're an equal
performance
opportunity
against the Browns. They ran
suck.
the ball well.
The Giants are the inferior team against everybody they play.
No, I'm just saying, if Dak Prescott's on the Cowboys, that is a playoff team with a far better head coach, better offensive line, and superior defensive line.
That's the one thing the Giants got going for him is Dable's going to have that tape repeating every single week. No
Oh,
matter how
time out.
Rich, I can talk about Dable. He was my offensive coordinator with
No.
McDermott, all right? I can talk about this.
I'm going before you, Jamie. I'm not going against you, what you're saying. You're legitimately saying that the defensive line, and as much as I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys, you're honestly trying to tell me the Giants D-line is better than the Cowboys D-line when it's healthy?
Micah Parsons is the most overrated player in the NFL right now.
Stop it. Stop it.
On what
Yeah.
planet are you living?
Okay,
When
Micah
it comes
Parsons.
down to the best,
Micah
best
Parsons-
defensive player in football. It comes down to three guys' names, and it starts with those three guys.
No,
TJ
What-
Watt, Miles
Micah-
Garrett, and Micah Parsons. It's
Micah
No,
Parsons
it's-
doesn't show up in. Micah Parsons says. Micah Parsons.
One at a time. One at a time. We're not arguing. We're just having an open conversation. One at a
I was just gonna say quickly, Micah Parsons. I played him.
Rich was talking. Stop.
Fine.
I know you're excited to get
but I'm
back on
just
the
saying-
air. Rich,
When
finish
you-
what you said, bud.
when you put the list of the top defensive players in the league together, the top three where it starts, whatever order you want to put them in, is Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons. It goes from there. There is no conceivable way somebody's going to convince me that the Dallas defensive line is not 50 times better than what the Giants is. It's probably a top 5 defensive line in football when healthy. Right now, no, because you got Lawrence and Parsons hurt.
Can I make a point before you go, Melissa?
Mm-hmm.
We keep saying Michael Parsons doesn't show up in big games, but when he plays teams that have big games, he's constantly double teamed and damn near triple teamed because of a chip, and everybody else is not getting home. And we know their secondary ain't all that. So why is it that he gets the blame of not showing up when he's taking the most attention from the offense and nobody else is doing their job?
So I have a theory about this. If you want to hear it.
Sure.
So the Niners have played the Cowboys twice in the playoffs. So my theory is that Micah is really good when things are easy. Like he can tee off on teams that just can't handle him. And when they're up big, he can just tee off and go after the quarterback and make the big plays. But when things are ugly, when things aren't, working well around him, when he has to do more than what's easy, he kind of struggles because he's trying to do too much and eat up too much, and then nobody else is taking advantage of what he actually does well in those moments. So he kind of like dissolves in the game. You're like wondering if 11's even out there. And the reason why I say Micah Parsons is overrated is because there's a lot of like big time defenders that get like double, triple teamed and still show up in big games, whether they're the regular season or the postseason. And I think the reason why he's overrated is because then he comes out on his podcast and he complains about how all these teams talk all this ish to him, and they're actually performing. They don't make excuses. And he always has an excuse for why he has a bad game. And it's just, I would rather have Dexter Lawrence from the Giants than Micah Parsons in a playoff game.
Sexy Dexy. Wow.
Like, if you're asking me if you're going to have a defensive lineman on either of those teams in the biggest spot and you're trusting somebody to get home and to make a difference, Dexter Lawrence has done it with no help for years.
You're also comparing two different positions, Melissa.
No, I know that, but I'm saying that Parsons says that he could be an edge, he can be a D tackle, he could be a linebacker. Like Parsons says he could play wherever he is necessary to tee off from.
Lawrence is too big to be a linebacker. He's 340 pounds.
You've seen some of the ways that he gets there, like fast, like lightning. Like Dexter Lawrence and Trent Williams have to be the two quickest big men in the whole league.
Trent Williams is an offensive lineman.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying that they're big and fast is my point. But I mean, I won't fault you if you want to put Parsons up there. I would put up a different defender probably than just the top three if you're gonna go top three.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I would put. You can't ignore Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett does everything. I mean, you saw it last year when he won the Defensive Player of the Year. He was doing defense. He was scoring for you guys. He was doing special teams. He was knocking down kicks. I mean, he was like the everyman. I put TJ Watt up there.
You got robbed. You got robbed last year.
No, he didn't.
Miles Garrett, the last time I checked, isn't a kicker. He's not a linebacker. He doesn't play special.
No, but he was on special teams last year. I think, what was it, the Colts game? Where he had that big stop in the Colts game?
Yeah,
where he jumped over the line on the kick.
That's the game that actually won him the defensive player of the year. But to sit here and say, I gotta go to Adam for a second. To sit here and say that he got robbed. We're talking about a linebacker that specifically gets credit for playing defensive end and nothing else.
And then if
He's
I had
a
to pick,
linebacker. I'm sorry, Melissa. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if I had to pick a third player, I know this is personal for me, so you guys probably disagree, but for me, I would have to put Dre Greenlaw up there. Just the way he shows up in big games, and he actually had like Mahomes and the Chiefs sweating until his injury.
If you want pass rushers, TJ Watt's number 1, Myles Garrett 2, Nick Bosa and Aiden Hutchinson on 3A and 3B.
I actually prefer Anzalone. I prefer Anzalone over Hutchinson.
Has
personally.
anybody? Am I the only one that has forgotten about Mason Crosby? I mean, not Max Crosby.
Max Crosby, no.
And Max Crosby's 5th.
Behind Aiden Hutchinson and who? Dog, we do this every week.
Melissa's a San Francisco fan. I can't throw Nick Bosa under the bus.
Joe, we're Bills fans.
You can throw Bosa under the bus. I don't mind.
There you go.
Believe me, Dylan, we well are aware of Melissa loving her Niners.
It's funny you talk about a guy who could be Greg Russo on the Bills. He never gets any love from anybody.
Oh, by the way, bad news for the Bills, Jamie. Von Miller suspended for the next 4 games.
Yeah, I know.
we knew
Suspended for something that the girl dropped the charges and basically was found not guilty, which makes no sense.
Sounds like what happened to Big Ben, right?
No, it sounds like what happened to Deshaun.
What happened to who?
Once is an accident, twice is a trend, 40 times is a pattern.
Dude, it went to federal court in 2 different cities in your state, and they both said there was no evidence.
And 30 of them were
The Von Miller thing. The Von Miller thing to me sounded more like what used to happen with Antonio Brown or Tyreek Hill, where it's like a domestic thing that just keeps popping up with, like, if not the same woman, then his baby mamas. Or like a couple of years ago, you guys remember the Niners used to have a guy named Aldon Smith that used to constantly get himself in trouble?
Oh, yeah, the Missouri pass rusher, right?
Aldon Smith, wow.
What wasn't some of his issue too, though? DWIs.
It was a gun possession and I think substance abuse.
And gun possession, yeah.
Because he shot off a gun at a party in California, which was a big no-no.
That's right up there with Greg Ellis and some of them guys that, lay on their bed with a bed full of guns and just lay on the bed like they're swimming in money. They're swimming in their beds, their guns on the bed. It's really the punishment structure in the NFL. I don't know about you guys. I think it's completely out of whack. There's just you get penalized for stuff that either is proven that didn't happen or is still in the process of being proven that it did happen. And I realize they have to act, but it just seems like their whole punishment structure is out of discombobulated, I guess.
A little inconsistent, perhaps.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
So are we mentioning the Chiefs for this reason? Because the Chiefs never get penalized unless they're absolutely forced to.
Actually, I think that defensive tackle for the Chiefs got charged with animal cruelty with what was it? the two starving dogs or whatever in his apartment, and he got arrested and said, "Oh, they weren't his" on the off season.
I'm glad somebody mentioned Chiefs because it leads me into my next subject. We all saw the funky play of Patrick Mahomes unintentionally hurting Rasheed Rice on Sunday. Assuming Rasheed Rice is out for any significant length of time, if not the season, because we don't know what the injury is. Hollywood, Marquise Hollywood Brown potentially out until what, December, early January. What wide receiver do you think the Kansas City Chiefs should acquire?
Devontae
We talked
Adams.
about this on our podcast a little while ago, and I was blanking. The name Devontae Adams came up, but they said
I said Devontae Adams because I think Mark Davis should say, you know what, I dare you to take Devontae Adams from us because we got Antonio Pierce and we play a certain style of football under him with a big nasty offensive line and a running game, and the way we beat the Chiefs last year, the way we play it, it's Mahomes rules, kind of like the Pistons rules with the Jordan rules with the bad boy Pistons. I wrote an article about that.
And I basically said that Mark Davis would not want to risk Al Davis rolling over in his grave with the Raiders helping out the Kansas City Chiefs or making
We
any.
did that in the draft with
like
Xavier
making a
Worthy.
deal with
We
the
did the same
devil,
thing,
you
Joe,
know.
remember?
Yeah.
And you did with Patrick Mahomes in 2017, Jamie.
Yes, and we got Trey White. I know he's not there anymore, but Trey White still turned out to be a good corner, and we got Josh Allen the next year and Tremaine Edmonds out of that trade.
Adam.
What?
Are they going to go after Ayuk and trade Ayuk for Adam?
If they had to trade anyone, I wish they would send butt cheeks Debo Samuel there.
Ooh.
Why? Debo Samuels is like your all-purpose thing. You can do running out of the backfield, do all that.
Debo. Okay, here's the thing that people who don't watch Niners football religiously don't understand about Debo Samuel. He is the most selfish receiver I've ever seen. He's always whining when the ball's not about him. He half-asses his routes, so he doesn't even do real routes to try to disguise who the ball is supposed to be going to. He taps out constantly. He half-ass blocks and leaves other players blown up. And yet he's the first person to complain when things aren't perfect when it's him getting the ball.
Now, no offense.
And he's always hurt.
He must be
Melissa,
the
with
only
all
wide
due
receiver in football that never complains or that always complains about never getting the ball, right?
No, I know what Steph Diggs is like. Trust me, I've been on your conversation about Steph Diggs for years. But I'm just saying, Steph Diggs you can count on to catch the ball. Steph Diggs you can count on to come up big in big games or to mostly be healthy.
Last year.
Debo is never there when he's healthy. And the worst part is my coach is so wrapped up in love with him that he will not get off his Debo plays when Debo goes down. And then they struggle in games that shouldn't be struggles. Like the Packers game. He was trying to use other receivers as wide backs. That's not their game. They didn't want to toss out the plays.
It's ground and pound, basically.
Hold on, Rich was saying something. Go ahead, Rich.
No. I was with Joe. It's like, okay, half the players in the league half the receivers in the league are screaming they don't get the ball enough, and almost all of the prima donna starting receivers, the CeeDee Lambs, sorry, Evan, Amari Coopers, the Jamar Chases, whenever they're not getting the ball, they kind of halfway, they're not really doing their best to be the decoy and all that kind of stuff. Debo ain't on an island unto himself. There's a bunch of guys on that island with him. Don't feel bad about that. But there is no way on God's green earth.
I know it's never going to happen.
Going to Kansas City. Devontae Adams ain't going to Kansas City either. There's no way.
There's
three teams that he could go to. Three.
Go ahead, Rich. Huh? What three? What three you got?
Okay. Work with me on these. The New York Football Jets.
Aaron Rodgers,
Devontae Adams, You know, it would, and especially if you got Garrett Wilson on one side, Devontae Adams on the other, and Alan Lazard hanging around in there in the slot. There could be some very interesting things happening there.
Oh no!
Oh, I'll bet money that Adams. I mean, to me, I'd be more shocked if Adams doesn't go to the Jets than if he does.
Well,
Honestly.
the second
Because he
one,
gets to reunite with
why?
Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
I haven't
What
had
happened?
that call on him.
I want to hear Ridge's two other teams, and then I got a comment.
Why did Devontae Adams go to the Raiders?
Money.
No,
No.
he went for Derek
Derek
Carr.
Carr.
Derek Carr, which leads to my second team, the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh.
Okay.
I said New Orleans earlier.
Again, him on one side, Chris Olave on the other, Rashad Shaheed floating around in there.
That
That could
screws
be
me
a
up on
really dangerous
fantasy, though. I
setup
got
too.
Chris Olave on fantasy.
The third team, come on, guys. The black and gold. The third team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need the number one receiver. They have the ability to make the deal. They can harness everything that needs to happen with it. Justin Fields having that extra option out there, Pickens on one side, Adams on the other. It's a great fit. Those are the three, to me, the three favorites for Adams to go somewhere. And Adams has said previously that he would be interested in going to Pittsburgh, and he said previously that he wants to play with Derek Carr again.
Go ahead, Evan.
Okay, so this is going to be long-winded.
I like it.
The reason he doesn't go to the Jets is because we don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to be after this season. My opinion, he's retired. Secondly, they would have to give up Garrett Wilson. And the reason they would have to give up Garrett Wilson is because he's calling out the team in the media. So to trade another guy that's going to get the ball out of his hands and stir up the pot more between him and Rodgers isn't going to work. Derek Carr, yes, it makes sense as far as Adams wanting to play with him, but the question then becomes, with a new contract because he's gotten traded, does that make New Orleans want to stick with Derek Carr or the Carr brother longer than they wanted to? The two teams that I think make the most sense right now, and this is not a homer statement, are the Browns and the Steelers. The reason I say the Steelers is because them getting a true number one again. They're the only team that I've seen in my lifetime that have had two number one receivers at the same time, and it actually worked with the coach on the same staff. The reason that the Browns work is because Amari Cooper, Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, Ethan Posich, Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill, Jordan Hicks, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Maurice Hurst all come off the books next year. We have the money to go sign him next year. Oh, and Elijah Moore is off the books. There's enough money there to go get a number one receiver.
Do you have enough capital to trade him, though?
Yes, absolutely. Because the report is
Trade
coming
Cooper.
out of Oakland. They want a second round pick. I'll gladly give you Cooper, Elijah Moore, a second round pick, and a third round pick next year. Who else is going to offer that? Because we're the only team that's been listed by anybody that has a win now window besides the Jets. And the only reason the Jets can't figure it out is because they're a shit show.
So you would give up Amari Cooper and send him to Oakland?
There was a reason we were trying to trade Amari for Brandon Ayuk. And the reason is he's lost a step as speed-wise. And secondly, his play so far has shown he don't want to be here. He openly admitted in the press conference that he ran the wrong route. He's ran the wrong route how many times in multiple games now? And he's dropped how many passes? He's out of shape. He don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have to do with Cleveland or the personnel around him, Evan?
It has to do with Cleveland because they didn't re-sign him after last year when he had his best year. He wanted more money, and they weren't willing to give it to him.
Evan or Dylan, you got a question?
I'll tell you why I think Devontae Adams goes, and this may surprise everyone. Devontae Adams will not be a New York Jet. He will not be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think Devontae Adams will end the year a Washington Commander.
Maybe.
In that air raid offense with Jaden Daniels, I could see it.
Because Terry McLaurin needs help. You mentioned Dane Daniels, Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Devontae Adams. Good luck stopping those
What are they
guys.
going to give up? What are they going to give up for him?
Probably a second-round pick because what the Commanders are, that'd probably be a pick in the teens. Or that'll be a pick like the 47, 48 pick in the draft.
I didn't see what the Raiders want to do. They want to receive player in this trade, or
They said
They want to send a second round pick. Or,
that's it.
Second round
Yeah.
pick player.
And
So-
number-
I'm not against it, Dylan, but my question to you is, do you feel like Washington doesn't need other things?
I feel like Washington can take advantage this year because with a quarterback not making any money, the Commanders could add Devontae Adams. And I'm not saying Devontae Adams what he was in Green Bay, but it'd be another smart move for a franchise that's going in the right direction. A little like what Houston did getting Steph Diggs, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon.
But the Texans were in a better position than Washington was before they got Daniels. And the other, yes, Terry McLaurin needs help, but you don't have a tight end. Your offensive line ain't that great. Let's be honest. B. Robinson is good, but he ain't a number one running back. And then you've lost your entire defensive line last year.
I don't know.
Man.
Are
I
you
don't
willing
know.
to give up a high second round pick to go pay a guy? And
May I chime in?
Go ahead.
I actually have two teams in mind that I don't think will be considered a threat, but could possibly be up for this. One of them is the Indianapolis Colts, who don't really have like a lot of star power. Whether they go
Yeah,
forward
Jonathan
with Joe
Taylor,
Flacco or Anthony Richardson, it seems like something they might do just to try to keep up with the Texans. And the other team that I don't think a lot of people think of, but I think would absolutely do this because they've done it before, is the Los Angeles Rams. Puka and Cooper Kupp are both injured. They've both been off and on injured for the last 2 years. Even if it's just like a rental thing, like if the Rams were serious about trying to prove themselves, that's something they might take a look at for a second round pick and a little bit more.
The question is who do they give up because their top two receivers are hurt, and what rental would it be? He's still under contract after this year, and he's gonna want a new contract.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying they did the same thing with Beckham. Like they didn't sign Beckham to like a big deal after they brought him in.
Right,
So if-
but Beckham was on a bum deal. Devontae Adams at least has another 2 years. He's gonna want to get at least restructured. Is he going to be willing to sit around Matthew Stafford for 1 year?
I would think Devontae just wants to play football the way that everyone talked about how he sounded on receivers. He was beyond pissed off with Jimmy Garoppolo. But that's the other reason why I might not think the Rams, because if Stafford gets hurt, which is very likely, Jimmy Garoppolo is their backup quarterback.
Oh no.
Yeah.
By the way, I've got a wild trade proposal. I think there's a chance the Rams actually trade Cooper Kupp because the Rams need a young quarterback to replace Stafford. But I've got an even wilder trade proposal for the Chiefs. I don't know about you, but why don't the Chiefs get Tyreek Hill?
We mentioned that before. It was kind of far-fetched, especially with a Tua-less Dolphins team. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. But we mentioned it in our podcast earlier that wouldn't it be crazy, if that happened? I'd be shocked if it did, though.
You know who the Chiefs probably would go for? They would probably attack one of these teams that has like a second really high paid receiver.
Are you talking about Christian Kirk?
No, I'm talking about like like a Waddle or Devontae Smith or someone who's already kind of sort of paid, but
Sounds like a
could
Amari
just be
Cooper.
someone to tread water.
Sounds like a Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
for
go
instance.
to Arizona.
You know who would also be shocked, but could actually go there? I could see Tyler Lockett being traded for.
No, Seattle. No,
Seattle's hot right now.
No,
Just saying if they're thinking long term, they have DK Metcalf, they have Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh, I remember one that I heard now. That's a possibility. They were talking about Deontay Johnson.
Oh yeah,
To the Panthers?
From the Panthers to the Chiefs. That's the name I heard come up that made a lot of sense.
What a culture shock that would be, huh, Joe?
Right? I would love it because I got Deontay Johnson on my fantasy team. So
I have Patrick Mahomes on my team and Deontay Johnson. That'd be a great match. Be a great.
That would just mean that the Chiefs had to go get old Steelers to make their team better. That's all.
Right.
You already got Juju. Then you would bring in Deontay. You had to raid the old Steelers to become a better team. That's all.
and go get Jerome the Bus Bettis, right? Maybe we'll get another ring.
Hey, the one other, we were talking about Devontae. The one thing the Steelers have that nobody else has to put into this deal to get Devontae Adams. That everybody's talking about trade. Send Amari Cooper, send this guy. The Steelers can send a quarterback.
So can we.
The guy wearing 4, yeah. But
no, I'm serious.
Who's going to throw to him? Who's going to throw to Adams?
We could send DTR. They tried to trade for him last year at the trade deadline, and they tried to trade for him at the end of the preseason.
Yeah, but they're to the point now they need somebody that's proven. Because Aiden O'Connell, I like Minshew, but Minshew ain't that guy. If they could get Russ and a 2 and ship him for Adams all day long.
I am not a fan of Russ Wilson, so I as a Pittsburgher, yeah.
I mean, the more and more I watch Justin Fields play, the more and more I think he's going to start the whole year, and Russ and Sierra might end up getting more playing time than Russ.
So you think the Jaguars? You think the Jaguars might be selling pieces soon?
Oh gosh! Do we have to talk Jaguars now?
No, but think about it. If they keep losing, right? And if the rumors are true that Dougie P really is on the hot seat, they might just blow everything up and try to start over again with Trevor and a bunch of younger guys.
I think Christian Kirk would be on the block because finally played well on Sunday, caught a touchdown. I mean, Brian Thomas looks like the number one going forward. Gabriel Davis right now has been a 4-letter word that starts with S, ends with T, and I'm not going to fill in the other 2 letters.
Shit.
Thank you. He's been crap. Evan Ingram's got a hamstring. Travis Etienne has gone in the witness protection program. And then defensively, the Jags have just completely fallen apart. Defensively, Josh Allen hurt. The linebackers hurt. Why we didn't draft Aiden Hutchinson? I mean, if you look, Christian Kirk would look pretty nice in Kansas City.
Looking at, we finished the first quarter of the season, and talking about these teams that are doing things, particularly the Jags. Let's go around the horn. Who's the first coach to get fired? Adam?
It's gotta be Doug Peterson, right?
You didn't say Mike Tomlin?
Not yet. I didn't feel like
That's if he plays Russ.
Oh no! Woof.
Jamie?
What?
First
coach to get fired.
Here I have a wild one that Joe and I talked about. If it doesn't turn around, Robert Saleh.
It's valid. Dylan?
Unfortunately for this team, I don't think this team's going to win a lot of games going forward. Dennis Allen.
Evan?
Who's the head coach in Carolina?
Dave Canales.
Dave Canales and
After 1 year,
and Robert Saleh by week 8.
Dave Canales after 1 year though.
Oh,
I'm saying by week 8. I'm not giving him a full year because I don't believe in their owner. I think their owner runs off of full emotions. He should have gave the last coach they had more time. And we all know that benching of Bryce Young came from the owner, not the head coach. So I don't think that he'll last.
By the
And
way,
I think Robert Saleh's out if they keep shit in the bed by week 8.
By the way, I look at the Jets' next 3 or 4 games. I believe they have the Vikings in London this Sunday, the Bills next Monday night, and the Steelers the following Sunday night. And I think there's like a Thursday night game against the Texans, if my memory serves me right.
They got to get back to running the football with those two workhorse backs.
By the way, where the heck has Breece Hall been?
Yep.
Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson have absolutely pooped the bed this year.
Breece Hall's done well for me on fantasy until that weather, though. They should have been able to run it now.
Can't kill a guy. I mean, he was bad last week. That's it.
Breece Hall's been like, if you look at
because
it,
they passed the ball in that god awful weather when they should have just been running it at will in that type of weather.
I'm sorry, Adam, but
Joe, who you got?
The two guys that were mentioned, Peterson and Saleh. I think Peterson has a better chance of being fired sooner. I think the Jets will hold on to Saleh until the end of the year. And if they don't make the playoffs, he's gone. Because I think Peterson has a better potential of getting fired the earliest.
good
Dylan,
news.
Dylan, hold on. You talk about Breece Hall not getting fantasy points. Week 1 versus San Francisco, 18. Week 2,
He got me 33. He got me 33 in my league.
18 against New England, and then in 3.8. He's only been missing for 1 week. Dude, relax.
If you look at Breece Hall analytically this year, he's been like one of the worst running backs in football.
You trust analytics?
Yes, Braylon Allen's been a better running back than Breece Hall, and that's coming from someone who owns Breece Hall in a big money league.
Yeah, he hasn't been as good as before. I mean, not a total flop. And Braylon Allen is getting more carries too. So I think Breece Hall will be there in the end, and the guy can catch passes. I think that's what he's getting most of his points with is his receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa?
I'm gonna go out of left field. I think Matt Eberflus. You've had the top pick for a couple of years. If Caleb Williams is on and off struggling, they might want a scapegoat for why things are so bad, especially if the Steelers and Justin Fields keep doing well. Like, the Bears owner doesn't really do well with coaches. And then I know it's very, very unlikely, but at the end of the day, if the Commanders stay the way that I think they will, which is winning the division, I could actually see Jerry Jones pulling the plug on Mike McCarthy because he lost Dan Quinn. And if Dan Quinn wins the East,
yeah,
and not only that, but then
Dan Quinn stunk as their defensive coordinator.
And doesn't the Cowboys play them twice in a 3-week period or something crazy like that?
You can ask my mom about Dan Quinn being the defensive coordinator, how he turned out. That's why they got rid of him.
Melissa. They do, Melissa. But here's the thing, and this I was going to say Dan McCarthy also, because in the next 4 games they play Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Francisco, and Atlanta in Atlanta.
I know.
They could arguably be 2-6.
They could easily just have one win on the year if the Giants could just get one damn touchdown in.
They're not going to go 3-14. They're not going to be that bad.
No, but if they lose those 4 games, I think McCarthy's gone by the time they get to Atlanta game, if not right after the Atlanta game. If they lose those 4, which is losable, because remember, you don't have Micah Parsons, you definitely don't have Tank Lawrence for the next 8 weeks. You probably don't have Micah Parsons for 2, maybe 4 weeks. So your defense is already suspect is even worse.
And then my rookie coach that I would have on the hot seat would actually be the Callahans down in Tennessee. Because she made a big spectacle about cleaning house and firing Vrabel and blaming everything on Vrabel. And if Tennessee Titans don't do much, she might be just as itchy-fingered as the Carolina guy.
Well,
Actually, they picked up a good win last night. I mean, they got 2 young running backs and they got a young offensive line that's a work in progress, but it's going to get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, but didn't Mason Rudolph finish off that game?
he was
Like
at
that game, what wasn't it standstill, like just field goals until Mason Rudolph came in that game?
Yeah, but he came in and managed the game. That's what a backup's got to do sometimes. You got to just get the job done.
I would start him in the next game.
No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying that there's potential that she's shown a pattern, right?
But you got to let
Of wanting the team to.
a bunch of young players, Melissa. You never talk about the offensive line and how.
No, I get that. I'm just saying with the way that the Jaguars have slipped into the playoffs routinely, and the Texans being a threat, some of these owners might get a little twitchy about not competing for the division. So,
Good point.
I've got one. I've got another quick one.
and after Frank Reich got fired after 4.5 games, like I highly doubt. I'm not saying that Tepper won't fire him, right? But I'm not saying that he would probably do it in season again.
What about Nick Sirianni?
Oh God, Sirianni. Did you see Jalen Hurts' quote that went viral about we have our moments about what them having a meeting and talking their stuff out?
Do we give him a little bit of break because of all the injuries?
I don't know. Just all these names that are coming up, I think are potential firings, but not until the end of the season. I don't think these guys will be let go until after the season's over if they end up as disappointing as they are now. There'll be a couple of them that go soon. Peterson probably, if they continue that way. But I don't know. I think Jacksonville does a little bit better. So
I mean,
good
news is, Joe, the Colts never win in Jacksonville. Then we play the Bears and Patriots in London. So I mean, if we lose to the Bears and Patriots, we might as well just send Doug Peterson to Siberia.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Trevor with him.
London, that's a home game for Jacksonville. They play better in London than they do in Jacksonville. So that's a win.
Werewolves of London.
Yeah. But I think a lot of these people, because Eberflus, you mentioned there, he was on the hot seat last year too. And now, with the new players here, he's given another chance. But if they don't produce this year, I think he's gone. But I think not until the end of the season. Same with guys like Sirianni and people like that. Even Saleh probably. I think they don't go until the end of the season.
Saleh.
Okay, now guys, switching sports now. Obviously, we all heard what happened with Pete Rose passing away yesterday, the all-time hit king. My question to everybody, I don't care who starts, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
He will be now.
And it's sad that it had to take him dying to be in it.
I don't think they put him in, and no, he shouldn't be. I'll take all the heat for this one. I've said this for years.
There should be a strict category on this. As a player, yes. As a manager, no.
Right.
He should win.
But if we're
And
gonna
the
do
biggest-
this route, this route.
The-
You know your best friend is gambling and betting on you. So I put shit on that guy too. I put an asterisk next to number 7 on the Dodgers.
If you can prove Ohtani knew about this stuff, I'll say the same thing about Ohtani.
Your interpreter's
biggest thing-
24 hours a day and you don't know he's gambling?
Right.
Took how much money out of your account? You don't know that
Like I
money's
said,
been just magically gone.
If there's a way to prove it and it's proven, I'll say the same thing about Ohtani.
Never
The
know.
part about him gambling is one thing. The part about him gambling is one thing. The part about him gambling on his own team, that's the nail in the coffin right there. Betting on baseball is bad enough. You bet on your own team when you were managing the team. You had your hand in the way that your team performed, and you're gambling on your team. Shoeless Joe Jackson did not have as much evidence against him as Pete Rose did, and he's never been put in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose should not be put in the Hall of Fame. Is he the greatest hitter of all time? He's on the short list. But for what he did that was detrimental to the game of baseball, Pete Rose should not be let in. And if they put him in now after his death, it's even worse than if they would have put him in while he was alive.
So, go ahead, Evan.
Go ahead, Melissa. I'll go after you.
I was going to just say, from what I hear, because I haven't watched baseball much lately because just the Yankees are annoying. I think that the very fabric that the MLB specifically has is like this weird mandate about letting, I guess, problem children, if you want to call them that, into the hall and saying that they're embarrassments is the reason why it probably never happens, because the league needed Sosa and McGuire to do what they did to make baseball survive. And yet they're both been washed off and discarded and disgraced, and yet they saved baseball. Barry Bonds, the entire fan base tried to beg them to put him in, and they wouldn't let him in. There's this weird thing where some guys can get in and get away with their past crimes, and then there's other guys that they want to make an example of. And it sounds like they really want to make an example out of this guy. So I highly doubt it happens. The only way I see it happening is if the league itself gets a bunch of support from current players and past players and the national media about forcing it in now that he's dead. But even then, I think it'd be a uphill battle for that to happen, because they're the one professional sport that takes that whole stance. We can't let just anybody in because of these things that happened outside of baseball or off the field of baseball. So
it was the writers. That's why it was the writers who did the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so she hit the nail right on the head as far as what I was going to say, as far as baseball surviving, that they needed. No, don't apologize. They absolutely needed Sosa, McGuire, Babe Ruth. I'm not Babe Ruth. Barry Bonds, and the other guy. I can't think of his name right now. Yes, but here's the other side of it. With the Ohtani part, that's absolutely why they acted like he didn't know what was going on. He's the hottest player in baseball. He's the hottest international player in baseball. He's probably the best international baseball player that the league has ever had. And we're going to sit here and say we're going to tarnish him after he just got one of the richest contracts of all time and say he knew about what's going on, and they watched how their popularity died when they crucified everybody else. They're not going to. They've learned. I think they're starting to learn their lesson. I think Pete will get in. I think eventually Bonds and McGuire, Sosa, and the rest of those guys will get in. And I think it's going to be, they're going to have to paint a new picture of these guys before they put them in there. And I agree with you, Rich. Yeah, he did some shitty shit, but if this sport wants to survive, they have to let these guys go. They just
exactly have it, because the ratings haven't been as good.
So Evan, can I ask you something real quick about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what you're saying is you're thinking this is going to be like an Eddie DeBartolo situation, where they just blacklisted and hated on DeBartolo for years, and then as soon as the Super Bowl was in Santa Clara, they decided to finally put him in.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you think it has to be like a big momentous like occasion like that where it's been like almost 2-3 decades and then they finally go, well, they're competing for something, so we'll finally put this guy in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
And then my other question, real quick, sorry, is he brought up Shohei Ohtani being the big international player that he is for all Asian athletes, and he's really big in the Asian community. Would you compare that to what happened a couple of years ago with the Chiefs and Andy Reid's son and the DWIs on the night of the Super Bowl? Like how they kind of try to sweep that under the rug and like not have him fired or make it like a big thing just because of how big the Chiefs were then?
Yes, because if that was Mike Tomlin, they'd have crucified him. If that was Kyle Shanahan, they would have crucified him. That could have been anybody else. It's the hottest quarterback and the hottest coach right now. They weren't going to do that.
Yeah, because it was the second time that he covered for his son.
Go ahead.
And it was during their biggest moment.
There's one other thing to look at with this Pete Rose thing, though. You are ineligible to go into the Hall of Fame. You are ineligible to be a candidate if you are on Major League Baseball's ineligible list. Rose was put on the permanently ineligible list in 1989 and has not been taken off. He would have to be taken off that list first. Then he would be out. And even at that, he would have to go in as a veterans pick because his time has gone way past to be eligible to be on the ballot.
I understand that, and I am privy to that knowledge. But going back to what I said before I respond to Melissa, that's the perfect thing. To say we're righting our wrongs. We crucified him way too long. We didn't enjoy the good things that he brought us. Give it to him. You can say the same thing about Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer. Does anybody disagree with that?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
I'm gonna set 40. Mark it down. Evans and Ben Roethlisberger, the Hall of Fame.
I'm just gonna be honest. I think he ain't shit dude. Personally, I've met the guy. I've talked to him on several different occasions. I think he's a shitty person. I think he's full of himself. And I think being the things that he did, he should have been crucified. But he's a Hall of Famer. And we
What did
enjoy
he do?
Too, huh?
I think he raped both of those women. And he paid them
Whoa,
both
whoa,
off.
whoa, 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 whoa. Go back into your sentence. You what?
I think he raped both of those women.
Think. Evidence?
Ray Lewis was covered in blood.
Just because he can't prove something doesn't mean it kind of didn't happen.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the same thing going back to the Ohtani thing. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Show me betting slips. Show me that Ohtani knew that he was betting on the Dodgers or on the Angels at that point in time. That kind of stuff.
We all
There
know
was
that
not
they're
one
gonna
drop
show
of
that.
evidence against Ben. There was not one drop of evidence against Ben. That's why the case was dropped. There wasn't a shred of evidence.
I think the only former Steeler that might be blacklisted when it comes to any kind of life achievement awards will be Antonio Brown. Just because he pissed off everybody.
He'll eventually get in. Just like T.O. and Chad John and Ocho. He'll get in.
I think Ocho gets in.
Ocho definitely deserves to get in my opinion.
You think?
Yes.
Or after.
I think he's borderline.
I think Ocho deserves to get in.
I think Hines Ward deserves to be in.
Hines
Ocho
Ward
might-
should be in before Ocho is.
Ocho might just get in because of the nightcap success that he's having with Shannon Sharp.
I think it's
that's a total disrespect to Chad Johnson's career.
I think it's
No, but Evan, think about it. For years, right? They put in everybody else from the Greatest Show on Turf. And you had Orlando Pace, you had all of them put in. It took Kurt Warner complaining on the NFL Network how he was the only big member of that epic team to not get in for him to finally get in, and he was working for them for years as a broadcaster.
Well, look at Andre Reed. He got snubbed every time, and he finally got in.
And with Ocho now showing up on First Take every once in a while on ESPN and doing other stuff, if anything were to push his chances, it's to be part of the media.
I
This
can
is
understand
where it
that,
gets-
but I can understand that. But if you take Ocho and put him in today's era, or you put him in an era before he was in, he gets in automatically. And I'm not saying that you're disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that if we take a look at Ocho's career and we put him a decade later or a decade before with the same numbers, he's a Hall of Famer.
His
No
problem is
hands
it was a
down.
one-dimensional
No.
receiver. He could only run one route, Ocho Cinco.
he
Okay,
only
maybe
yeah,
for the second
yeah,
half of his career, he's still a Hall of Famer.
Chris Carter could only have touchdowns. He didn't do much outside of that, and he's still a Hall of Famer. And he
Right, but
was
as a wide receiver, the
cokehead.
number one receiver, you can't just
And
run
he
one
admitted
route.
that he did coke during games,
Hmm?
before games, during halftime, and after games.
I'm gonna have Joe give his take.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, I'm going to because I got to get going here. Thank you. But I think it's what messes with the integrity of the game. Now, again, you got somebody, what happens off the field shouldn't matter, as far as Hall of Fame. For example, O.J. Simpson, let's take him. There's controversy here in Buffalo. He should be taken off their Wall of Fame because we know he's a murderer, that kind of thing. He shouldn't be in the Football Hall of Fame because of stuff he did. And I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think you get a case like this with Pete Rose and, some of these guys, that you mentioned, Bonds and McGuire, that they messed with the integrity of the game. And I agree with what you're saying. Baseball needed this in a way. So it's kind of, ironic a little bit that they did save the game. And I completely agree with that. But they still cheated and they still messed with the integrity of the game. And as much as, and I've changed my mind on Pete Rose. Originally, I said, no, he should still be in there based on what he did on the field. But what he did messed with the integrity of the game. So I kind of changed to the point where I was like, you know what? He shouldn't be. And I think that's the key right there with any sport. When you're messing with the integrity of the game, you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. If you're a jerk, like you're talking about Roethlisberger and that, if you're an idiot jerk off the field, but you still win Super Bowls and stuff like that, and you don't mess with the integrity of the game, you should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that's the determining factor right there.
Honestly, Pete Rose should not only be in the Hall of Fame, there shouldn't be any question Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I believe there were guys who took performance-enhancing drugs in the Hall of Fame today. I'm not going to name names, but there are a few who all connected with drugs. But I mean, Pete Carroll, excuse me, did I just call him Pete Carroll? I mean, Pete Rose. To me, it's odd we're talking about this, but all these professional sports leagues and teams are embracing gambling. I mean, you see a baseball, football game, and there's a DraftKings app, there's a Price app, there's a FanDuel, there's all these apps.
Yeah, it's legal now. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I look at Pete Rose different than I would Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens. Pete Rose didn't illegally use performance-enhancing drugs. He just bet on baseball. He just bet like everybody else in the world does. But Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez cheated the game by taking illegal stimulants.
Can I ask a question?
Shoot.
Before we get off, Joe?
Sure.
We talk about gambling and messing with the integrity of the game. We know Jordan had a betting problem. Are we here? Are we all going to logically sit here and say that Jordan didn't bet on something that had to do with the NBA or the Chicago Bulls?
Well, we don't know that. And like I said, I'm all for, I bet almost every day. So I'm all for it. That's a good question, Evan. We don't know. There's no I mean, there's proof that Pete Rose bet on games that he was involved in.
Can I
don't
get
think-
Joe's 2 cents on something real quick?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I don't
Mhm.
think Jordan ever bet on games he was involved in, but do we know that? What we
Do you
don't.
think the NBA would have let it out?
No.
So then, if he had bet on if it had got out that Jordan had bet on the NBA, would he not be considered the GOAT in some people's eyes? Would he not be a Hall of Famer?
In some people's eyes, I'd say yes. Now again, if he was an idiot and did crazy things off the court, then I'd say no, he's still the GOAT, and you put him in. But if he did anything that affected the integrity of the game, as much as I hate to say it, then you'd have to do something about that.
If he bet on basketball, okay. If he bet on a Bulls game while he was playing, yes, out of the Hall of Fame. Should
That's
never
the
go
key.
in.
If
he bet on the Mavericks against the Pacers, fine. But if he bet on any game that he played in with the Chicago Bulls or the Wizards that he was involved with the game, then he shouldn't be. No, same thing. Screw him with the integrity of the game.
Yeah, and I'd say the same.
There's a rule in Major League Baseball that is put in the players' agreements, and I was looking at this. It's Rule 21 that they sign every year in spring training. That says any player, umpire, or club or league official who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the batter has no duty to perform shall be declared ineligible. It's in the rules they sign on every single season.
Mm-hmm.
So they can bet on another team, 2 teams that they have nothing to do with.
I don't think they can, right? Because weren't some of these football players suspended?
On any baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
It says on any baseball game. If they want to bet on the NFL, pitch till you win, baby. If they want to pitch, bet on hockey or tiddlywinks or cornhole or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't.
I need to be.
Sorry, Melissa, I didn't mean to mess you up.
No, that's
Okay.
okay. And you had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on this. You guys remember there was a big controversy for years that Reggie Bush had his Heisman Trophy stripped from him because of the pre-NIL days. And then once the NIL became like a big thing, and it wasn't just brand new, but it was a big thing for all players, they finally decided this past year to put him back in the Heisman Trophy. They put the banner up at SC. They put him back in the commercials and reinstated him.
Right.
Not so much apology, but they finally did it because of peer pressure.
Yes, it's fair because
I think that could be similar to this because that's usually how these things happen. There's just someone who starts a movement and then they're pressured into it, whether they want to or not. Kind of like how many people begged for years for Snyder to lose the Commanders, and then he finally lost the Commanders. Like it takes.
Now they want the Redskins back.
Right.
It finally takes like some big movement. So I'm saying, do you think it could be like that, or do you think they're just so hard against this guy that nothing or nobody does is ever going to change it?
For Pete Rose, you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think Pete Rose will get in one eventually, but
Okay.
whether he should, I don't think he should. I think he will get in.
Thank you, Joe. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here.
Joe,
And I'm going to head out, guys. Always a fun time. I appreciate you having me on.
Good luck to your Bills.
Yeah, thank you.
Ooh.
And you can find me again on the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room Tuesday nights and on Joe Dell Sports on Twitter X.
Oh, by the way, Mets won 8-4 today, so the one game to none in the inner wild card against the Bruins.
We did a football podcast earlier, but I was just sure to announce that baseball news on that podcast. So definitely. So again, I always appreciate it, and I will definitely talk to you guys
I'm
soon.
enjoying life in the first round bye right now as a Yankee guy.
That's it. Hey, that's it.
So
All right,
what,
good night,
Ja-
everybody.
So what, Jamie?
See you,
Are you
Joe.
getting ready? So what, Jamie? Are you getting ready to face the Royals next? Royals or Orioles?
So,
I'll play whoever, man. We just got to take advantage of this first round bye.
hey, Evan, are you guys gonna play Jameis Winston
When?
He's the
ever?
No,
He's the backup right now, but he could end up
he's
starting.
not going to start for this team as long as Deshaun Watson is healthy. Especially since he's been showing improvement from week 1 to week 4.
Right.
Okay. I was just
Rich.
curious because that's big losing to the Cowboys and the Giants. And you guys aren't so out of the North because what the Ravens are 2-2, the Bengals are 1-3. You guys are 1-3, and only the Steelers are what 3-1.
Yeah.
Right. If we're being completely honest, and I know it's a crappy thing to lean on, but if we don't have the offensive penalties that we have,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be in the same position as the Ravens or maybe even the Steelers. If we're being completely honest, because if you look back at week 4, you take a 82-yard touchdown off the board off a
That
holding
was
call
a terrible penalty. That was a terrible call.
terrible call that they usually don't call, right? They win that game because they have momentum on the defensive side. You go back to the Giants game, that entire fourth quarter, we had 3 different drives to win the game.
You guys bailed out Daniel Jones so bad in that game.
Right. So we're looking at 2 wins right there. The only game that I really felt like we didn't really have a chance to win was the Cowboys game.
Because your offensive line
was in shambles. So I don't see a reason to cut him, especially when all the other gripes or bench him when all the other gripes coming into the season were, was he going to be a leader? Do these guys trust him? And you clearly see that they do because they're standing up for him in the media. And on top of that, the biggest gripe that they had between him and Joe Flacco was getting on guys' asses. But if you look at the last 3 games, you can find at least 2 to 3 clips a game of him yelling at an offensive lineman, going and encourage a receiver, going and encouraging defense and leading his team. So I don't see a reason why to move away from him when the last 2 games he didn't lose you the game. Yeah, he didn't win it, but he didn't lose it.
Isn't Njoku back yet?
Njoku and Chubb are practicing this week.
And Joker should be back this week. Nick Chubb's practicing might be back week 7-ish.
No, they're talking about practicing.
Owusu-Koramoah was okay after the Giants game, right? Because I think he had like a stinger in that game or something.
And as for the 49ers, Dr. Disrespect will be back never.
Yo, there are so many freaking celebrities around my team. I just ignore them all.
Hey, Melissa, I've got a question right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is Brock Purdy capable of winning a Super Bowl?
Yes.
Wait a minute. So if Brock Purdy goes up against Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud, he'll be the second best quarterback in that game to any of them.
Doesn't matter. All you have to do is have the better team win that day. And if someone like Trent Dilfer can win a Super Bowl, if Peyton Manning on his last leg can win a Super Bowl, if
what did those 2
Brad
guys
Johnson won a Super Bowl,
But what did those guys all have in common, Melissa? They all had
elite defenses. Yes, I know, but I'm saying just stop the whole thing that Brock Purdy can't do it because just like Jimmy Garoppolo before him, they had like a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and then they just gave up and sat on the lead and let the Chiefs back in. It's not like he hasn't shown up in those games. Like, he's not like this thing that everyone says that he can't do anything. The question
they
is,
like- they
can
like-
the
they like
Niners
to run the
offensive
rock.
line protect him long enough for him to make plays? That's way more big than the
He
quarterback
wants to run
question.
a grounded pound offense. That's why.
Well, the right side of San Francisco's offensive line's been bad for a year and a half or so.
They've been god awful since the Mike McGlinchey pick back in 2018, but that's neither here nor there.
Melissa, I just want you to know something. Dylan
Mhm.
has the Niners winning the division, so he's going to fucking pick on you the whole fucking time. He thinks
So who do you have winning the division?
I have the-
Seahawks?
I have the Rams.
I just wanted to fill you in.
That's fine.
Yeah, but he said earlier that the 49ers would miss the playoffs, and Chairman
That's-
John went out of his mind.
That's fine. You can hate. You can be just like Chris Brockman on Rich Eisen's show. That's cool. Whatever.
Hey, you guys can throw all the crow back to me because my Jaguars are the only winless team in the
We
league.
all
Give me-
Hey, I
Jaguars
love
suck.
Chris Berman, man. That's my idol. It's a bubble.
No, I thought you were
Uh,
for a long time.
You
I'm
know,
not sure.
Evan, Melissa doesn't know my nickname. It's Chris Berman Jr., remember?
By the way,
Yeah,
I met,
it is.
by the way, I met Chris Berman.
Here's the thing, though.
Little maggot, run.
You wanted to talk about Brock Purdy. Can we talk about how your quarterback is lucky as all hell to have 5 turnovers and the Chargers just shot the bed so badly that you were magically gifted that wild card win?
I don't know how we won that game.
5
I don't know
turnovers
how-
in 1/2, and you. If it was anyone but the Chargers, you would have won that game.
I mean, if name me a random coach in the NFL. He doesn't even have to be coaching right now. Name me a random coach in the NFL.
Cliff Kingsbury.
If Cliff King, well,
He's an offensive coordinator.
He was a head coach back when this was an issue, though.
if Cliff Kingsbury would have been Justin Herbert's head coach for that playoff game, the Chargers win because he would have remembered, okay, let's get the ball to Austin Eckler. He's going to score and touchdowns. If you have a 27-0 lead, guess what you want to do? Run the ball. Take time off the ball. Keep your defense off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the one player I love about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is why I'll never give up on them. I love Josh Allen.
Which one?
Josh Hines Allen now.
The one on the Jaguars.
Thank
He's
you.
Josh Hines Allen now.
And now he's in concussion protocol, but that's either near or there.
I can't stand Evan Ingram. I hate that you guys paid Christian Kirk so much money that you destroyed receiver money for all of time, but
I don't know. I blame Amon Rob for setting all the receiver market now.
Didn't he get paid after the fact?
Who?
Amon-Ra got paid this offseason. Kirk was the one that first started that a couple years ago coming out of Arizona.
Yeah, because we don't pay the running backs anymore.
Because Kirk was the first guy that said, oh, look, George Kittle's making this money. Travis Kelce's making this money. Who was the guy that the Browns paid? I think it was Hunter Henry that one year where they made him the highest paid tight end.
No,
And he's like,
That was Njoku.
no, it wasn't. She's talking about the guy that we got, Hooper, that we got from the Falcons.
Austin Hooper. And so when Kirk was trying to get paid, he's like, if the tight ends are making this much, I need to make this much more because I'm a receiver. I'm not a tight end. And so when he did that, he blew up the entire market.
And now it doesn't look that bad because receivers are getting $35 million a year.
It does look that bad. He's not a number one receiver.
Oh, speaking of, y'all think that Calvin really goes to the Chiefs
No.
from the tight ends?
No. DeAndre Hopkins might. But not
Yeah, but
Calvin.
wouldn't they want a younger, more healthy, viable option?
No. The Chiefs are in win now mode. They don't care if he's 79 years old, 78 years old, or 23 years old.
That's an oxymoron because if they're winning, if they're in a win now mode, is that old guy going to give them that?
I don't know.
But But if they were really willing to just bring in anybody, right? Then they would bring back Jerick McKinnon or they bring in Cardavius Toney.
Oh gosh. Oh,
There,
God.
oh, Mr. I line up offsides wrong.
She's right
There-
though. Like
There
if
is
we're gonna
talk that he's on the list.
They're both former Chiefs. They both were there during the Super Bowl wins. Like
Kadarius
they know the
Toney was the
offense.
worst receivers on the team, even though they
I'm
won
not saying that they're good players. I think there's a reason why they're not signed anywhere. I'm just saying
I mean,
if they were willing to do anything,
Giants look like
you,
geniuses. for making
there's
that trade.
non-trading options out there for them.
the
Let's see, you
Chiefs
gotta-
already brought back Kareem Hunt. They might as well bring back Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen. Oh no! Bring back Larry Johnson or Priest Holmes.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Chiefs for not using Carson Steele and killing my fantasy team. Thank you
Bring
very
Tony
much.
Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez in his prime and Travis Kelce. Oh boy. Tony Gonzalez.
I understand the jokes, but we just had the same conversation before she got on about bringing back Tyreek Hill. So what's the difference about bringing two guys that helped them win Super Bowls?
Well, I mean, I don't know about
Kadarius
you, but
Toney
the
is not
Miami
Tyreek.
Dolphins,
He's not, but-
Dolphins don't have a quarterback.
Yes, they do. He's on your roster.
Stu Plumlee couldn't even beat the Titans last night.
It's the NFL. What? I hate hearing that. This is the NFL. These are the best players in the world.
Okay, you do realize though that the Titans went and beat a healthy Tua last year in Miami at the end of the year. That helped the Buffalo Bills get the first seat in that division.
And then the Titans knocked out my Jaguars in Week 18. Don't remind me. We hate the Titans in Florida. We think the Titans should be sent to Siberia in Florida.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you know what they say. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Florida. The whole state of Florida. The whole
I
state
mean,
of
we
Florida.
just had a
Don't
freaking
give a damn
hurricane
about the
hit
whole
here
state of Florida
for
because we're from Tennessee.
Evan, did you see this comment by Bronny today?
Which one? Where he was trolling his father?
No, where he said I was going to get drafted anyway.
He ain't wrong.
He was getting drafted.
George
4.1.
Sanders.
What?
He was.
Yeah,
Look, stop. Look.
DM was on a nightcap on Sunday, right? And he was making this comment about how, as a father, that's where he wants his son to go to Miami.
I thought about that too because the offense that Mike McDaniels runs requires timing and just running and shooting like Tua did. He's that type of QB. He's already doing that in Colorado. I was thinking
Shador
that last
Sanders
night.
is overrated.
Stop it. Stop it.
Not
Stop it.
anymore. His
He
offensive
is-
line and his running game's coming together now.
I don't care. He is not an NFL quarterback. Sorry. He's not the best player on that team.
What has that got?
Travis-
Jalen Daniels wasn't the best player on his team.
I understand this, but what I'm saying is everybody's talking up all this stuff about Shador Sanders and all that. Sanders is not that good, guys. He's full of hype. He's
Never-
100%
College player
hype.
isn't.
I
Was Patrick Mahomes hype coming out of college?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
No.
Yes, he was. There was talk
Then
about
why
him
was he the fourth quarterback taken?
He was only a 3-star recruit in
Because the
college.
Niners fucked with the Bears' head and thought that they were going to take Mitchell Trubisky. So they
Patrick
traded
Mahomes
up one
coming out of
pick?
Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech was not getting all the bells and whistles, was not getting all the pub and all that kind of stuff.
Neither did
Wasn't even
Josh
getting-
Allen too.
Definitely was not getting the kind of pub that was saying he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Definitely not.
neither
That
was Tom
really-
Brady.
But that
Yeah,
really,
Rick,
that
Rick,
rarely
you're right.
happens
Mel
to any
Kiper said he was
quarterback.
going to be a bust.
Mel Kiper also said that he wanted to get rid of 2 high safeties. Because that was the reason why the teams weren't scoring enough touchdowns this year.
You have
Mel
to put
Kiper's
two
a
ice
goof.
safeties to stop the run.
You know what I wish would happen. I wish Aaron Donald would go sack Mel Kiper and hit him right in the breadbasket. I think we'd all like
Who in
it.
the hell is Mel Kiper? Bill Tobin.
That was funny. I saw that live.
That was funny.
I mean,
But no,
I mean,
I watched him play the game against Baylor. I've watched him play a lot of games throughout the course of his career. Is he a talented athlete? Yes. Can he throw the ball? Sure. But does he have any sort of structure to what he does? No.
That's
mean,
not his fault.
Zero.
I mean, I saw
Whose
Travis
fault
Hunter.
is it?
I saw
It's the
So-
coaching staff's fault.
So you're saying Miami's about the only place that he could be successful because they have so many other things to rely on? That all he has to be is a game manager?
I think so. With the way they run those
Yeah.
motions and fast offense.
If Shador Sanders gets drafted by somebody like and I realize these guys, it probably wouldn't happen, but like an Andy Reid or a Tomlin or a guy that puts structure into his offense,
Hmm.
he'd never make it. He wouldn't make it to the beginning of the regular season.
Wait a minute. You're saying he couldn't work with Sean McVay in LA?
I don't think
So-
so.
So would you say that he would be worse than
McVay's
Kyler Murray?
McVay, now Arizona, maybe, yeah.
Because you remember Kyler Murray when he first came into the league, he used to throw his playbook into the trunk and never touch it. Kind of like Michael Vick used to do.
So
Yeah, if it was Kingsbury, sure.
we're saying that he has no structure and that he would go to a place that has a foundation and a good culture from the teams that you listed and he would fail.
Unless he completely changed his attitude about how he plays, yes. Yeah.
So if that's the case, why did Jalen Daniels suck at we played to win the game? Why did under Herm Edwards? Why was Patrick under your estimation? Why was Patrick Mahomes not getting the hype out of Texas Tech? Why was Baker Mayfield not getting the hype when he left Texas Tech? When real football fans knew who he was, why would he fail?
The answer is simple. Some guys mature sooner. I mean, to be honest, Peyton Manning was ready to play as soon as he stepped on the field at Tennessee. But some guys take a while. Jaden Daniels needed 5 years of college football.
Well, Peyton Manning said that he suffered his rookie year. And
Well,
he
yeah,
begs
because
every
He did.
he begs every year for some quarterback to fall on him so hard that they'll throw more interceptions than him, so he's not the all-time interception king for a
Yeah.
rookie quarterback. Like,
Well, I mean, look at the rookie quarterbacks this year. I mean, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix happened exactly lit the world on fire. I mean, Bo Nix finally threw some touchdown passes. Caleb Williams finally won a home game. Jaden Daniels looked great.
Jaden Daniels has looked good from the jump.
I mean,
But that LSU program teaches you structure, teaches you to be ready to go to have your head screwed on straight. Whether it's Joe Burrow, whether it's Jaden Daniels, whether it's whoever.
Joe Burrow don't count.
Outside-
He came from Ohio State that had structure.
well, Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And LSU didn't.
here's the only thing I think that
Title with.
here's the
Who did
thing
they win the national
that
championship with.
Melissa.
here's the only thing I think that'll hold back Shador in the pros. His father. I think
definitely.
Deion's gonna interfere with the coach too much, and the son will go to the father instead of his coach. And I mean, he's never not been coached by his father, unless he can cut ties from Deion enough to take his job seriously. Like that's going to be an issue. Like that's going to be worse than RG3 having his own private locker room and going up to the owner over the Shanahans and just completely disrespecting all authority. Like,
That I think
he
that
is going to have to do. He's going to have to do what. Oh, hold on. Dang it! I'll be right back because I can't. I'll get it in just a second. Go ahead, Evan.
we're sitting here saying that a talented quarterback going to the teams that you listed that have structure won't win when you're saying he needs structure now. But the very quarterbacks that you have given that did well in college didn't have structure until their senior year. Except for Joe Burrow. He had, and the only reason he didn't get no playing time is because he's white and he's at Ohio State. They haven't given a white quarterback at Ohio State a chance in a long time.
Well, Howard's playing this year.
He's only getting that because Ryan Day can't recruit.
Going to what Melissa was saying, and I firmly believe this, and I hope that Shador has the intestinal fortitude to do it. I can see this being Lonzo Ball.
You're telling me that Deion Sanders is going to step on a Harbaugh, a Andy Reid, a Mike Tomlin? No, he's
Every bit
not.
of it, because he thinks that he's the he never listened to any coach he had. Whenever he was in San Francisco, didn't listen to those guys out there. When he was with the Cowboys, he wasn't listening to those coaches there, and he's not going to listen to any coaches that are talking to his son. He's going to expect these coaches to coach him the way he wants to coach him instead of how they're going to coach him. You watch.
And we're talking about the NBA and the NFL. You
But
think
it's
Arch,
the father being involved in the whole situation.
wait. We gonna sit here and say Arch didn't have anything to say with Eli?
no,
Probably
but that's my point. Because
word.
Deion
He
even
was the
got
whole reason he didn't go to San Diego.
Right, because Arch didn't want him playing in California. That's why.
But Evan, if you listen to Nightcap, the quote that went viral most was, I forget, it was either Ocho or Shannon. I think it might have been Shannon. He goes, if your son is put to this team, are you going to pull Manning and not have your son play there? And Deion was like, emphatically, I'm not letting my son play where I don't approve for my son to play.
What's wrong with that?
There.
I'm not
We
saying
want
there's something
everything.
wrong with that, but I'm saying that might become an issue if things aren't easy. Like, this kid has always fallen back on his dad.
What's wrong with
She's a-
that? Stop it.
Be your own man.
Stop it. We not dogging Bronny. We not dogging Bryce. We didn't dog Jordan's kids.
I'll dog Bronny all day
Stop
too.
it. We didn't dog Ken Griffey Jr. for their fathers doing the exact same thing. We didn't dog Eli. We didn't dog Peyton. And Arch did the same thing.
Okay, Ken Griffey Jr. is completely a whole.
I said that might be the only thing that holds him back, Evan. I didn't say it would. I said it might. Might.
We didn't have a mic conversation for everybody else I just said.
Right.
What are we arguing about?
Shador Sanders.
What's wrong with a Hall of Fame father saying, I want my son to go here?
It worked for
Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice said the same
there-
thing about his son. Jerry Rice said the
But if
same
he-
thing.
Brandon Rice went to the Chargers.
But if he doesn't go there, then don't be a little crybaby and say, well, he doesn't want to play for these guys. He's only going to play for these teams.
That's what
Play
Arch
the hand that's
Arch
dealt to
Manning
you.
did the same thing
But
with
Arch
Eli.
did the
Rick.
same. Thank you.
Did he do it publicly?
Yes. It was the talk of, yes, he did. It was the talk of the draft. It was on NFL Network.
They have the famous photo of Eli holding the San Diego jersey like 5 feet ahead of him and making that face because he didn't want to be a Charger.
No, I understand. Did Archie Manning come out on camera doing things, or was he talking to Eli behind the scenes? Prime ain't going to do it. I'm not in front of the camera.
Does it matter if we still know who's saying it? If we know who's saying it, does it matter how you hear it? No, it don't.
All I'm saying is, if he's saying this stuff, he's expecting Shador to be him. Ain't no way. Prime is one of the best NFL players of all time. Top 100 player of all time. Probably the best defensive back to ever walk.
Who here has kids or nieces or nephews they care about? Raise your hand.
I got 4 of them.
Did you not expect great things? Did you not have expectations for your kids?
I expect them to be their own person.
But that's still an expectation, is it not?
Yeah, but I wasn't going to use my influence to take them to the next level. So I expected them to take themselves to the next level.
So if you could open the door for one of your kids, you wouldn't do it?
When I open the door, sure. Would I push them through it or would I lead them through it? No.
If that's what they
I'll
want
open it, you walk through it.
But if that's what they want to do, and it's obvious that he wants to play football, his
Right.
father didn't.
But if he gets drafted by the Jets, then guess what? Go play for the freaking Jets.
I wouldn't play for the Jets.
Guys, let me try and corral. Relax. Okay, I've got a new topic.
We're all good, man.
I've got a new topic. Who is everybody's favorite baseball player all time?
Kenny Lofton.
Oh man, or Derek Jeter.
Mine's Willie Stargell.
Oh, the big man. Melissa, you have one?
I mean, it's between the player that I have the most like emotional tie to, and then the one I actually got to watch play baseball. So there's like 2 different valleys that I can go down. I just don't know which one to go down.
Who you deciding between?
Yogi Berra, because I used to go to Jackals games, and I've been to the Yogi Berra Museum, and we have like a bunch of like bobbleheads and like the signed autographs and stuff like from when we went to Jackal games when they were in Montclair, New Jersey. And then if not him and the emotional ties, I'd probably go with either Mariano Rivera or Bernie Williams.
Bernie goes boom, burn, baby, burn.
He's an extremely popular player, man. Him and Paul O'Neill both. Super.
So like I said, I used to be a Yankee fan. My family kind of made me hate the Yankees. But I can't choose between like the legacies and the guys that I kind of watched win those championships. So just I'm a little torn. You could go either way. Ones that you actually saw play baseball, or the ones that you know what they represented and what they meant, and they had that like kind of like otherworldly mystique to them.
I might. How about Ken Griffey Jr.?
Very viable, man.
The kid with the backwards hat.
He's on my list.
Natural injuries. That guy.
That's the fun thing about questions like this, though. There is really no wrong answer.
Right.
Now
I like Frank Thomas too, the big hurt.
Oh, the big hurt.
Because I mean, think about it. You were just talking about Deion Sanders, right? And you just said that he's the greatest corner, maybe of all time.
Prime time,
right?
Yeah.
And for me, he doesn't even make my top like 10 favorite defenders of all time for the Niners.
Would Charles Haley make your list?
Charles Haley would make my list. Ronnie Lott would make my list. I can't tell if you could see this or not, but it says the Cowboy on it. Justin Smith would make my list.
Oh, by the way, do you remember, Melissa? You might not remember this, but I remember Justin Smith getting injected. I think second a game in San Diego. He accidentally touched an official and was ejected from the game because Khalif Blakeman was the referee and ejected Justin Smith from the game.
Justin Smith. I will never forget
I don't-
Justin Smith.
By the way,
So I have Patrick Willis on my list.
He was a
Um,
one-man wrecking ball.
I mean, he wouldn't be in my top 10, but just he's like one of my top 10 most memorable guys because he was just like such a polarizing figure and people crapped on him all the time. But I would have Ahmad Brooks on like my like all time just memorable guys. Just the way that he jumped over the line in that Panthers game and the way that he got attacked for the hit on Drew Brees with the supposed clothesline and trying to decapitate Brees and all that other nonsense. But yeah, like the whole thing is that each person identifies with someone different. Like for my team, everyone will say Brandon Ayuk is their favorite receiver currently, or Deebo Samuel will be their favorite. Mine has been Jawan Jennings for years. I've been bullied over him. I've been day one all over Jawan Jennings, and it's been ugly. It's been brutal. And now finally people are seeing what I've seen all along. So, I mean, it really is just personal taste at the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember Jawan Jennings. Excuse me. I remember Jawan Jennings catching a Hail Mary at the end of the Tennessee-Georgia game.
I remember Jawan Jennings Jaguars getting ejected in 2021 when he played in Jacksonville. When you guys ripped off his helmet and the guy was throwing punches at his head and he was just backing up and be like, "Ref, look, I'm not doing nothing." And he's had that special superpower since 2021 when he finally got to play in the league. He didn't play his rookie year. And there is no receiver that gets in guys' heads quite like Jawan Jennings. And he's probably the only receiver that lives and breathes like George Kittle does, where he's probably loving to block more than he does receiving.
Jawan Jennings is so underrated, and you gotta have.
Did you see him block into the Gatorade table and almost threw the Gatorade table versus the Packers last year in the playoffs?
yeah.
So
I
for me
remember seeing
personally,
that.
I love players like that. I love guys that are kind of like underdogs, or they're kind of written off because they're fourth rounders or fifth rounders or sixth rounders or seventh rounders or undrafted guys. And you get that like emotional tie to them, and you can't shake them, no matter what anybody else says.
I mean, who would think that Amon-Ra would go from being a fourth round to a stud to maybe the number one receiver in fantasy?
Anyone who's heard Amon-Ra speak or play a game, he keeps a list of every receiver that went ahead of him and the way he's taking the Lions on his back, and not like the Calvin Johnson like thing where it was Calvin Johnson a bag of nothing. But I mean, like literally, he has carried that team on his back for years, the way that Joe Mixon used to do for the Bengals. And the fact that they're finally sort of starting to give him credit for what he has been for that organization, it's a huge thing. Like, I think guys like that are way underrated.
Well, yeah, I mean, would the LA Rams have won the Super Bowl without Eastern Washington's Cooper Kupp?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Cooper Kupp
Yes.
was
Stop it. Yes. Yes. That defense that year
Oh, that's
was
true.
frightening.
With Leonard
you-
Floyd, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey.
And then you turn
Yeah.
around and arguably Matt Stafford has the greatest year of his career, especially the playoff games. They didn't need Cooper Kupp. He was a great piece, but they didn't need him that year.
the Rams wide receiver core was Cooper Kupp and everybody else hurt.
He could have threw to the six of us. He'd have won that Super Bowl.
No. If Cooper
Dog,
Kupp,
do you understand that they had two dogs, two players at the cornerback spot, at the defensive line spot, at the linebacker spot, and the safety spot that were qualified to be Pro Bowlers that year, let alone All Pro? And you want to sit here and say that Cooper Kupp was a piece to that?
you and I must have not watched the same Super Bowl.
If that's the case, Jared Goff would have won that Super Bowl. Do you think that?
No.
Okay, then.
No, I'm saying if Cooper Kupp is not on the field, because once Odell Beckham left, it was basically Cooper Cup and a can of baked beans at the wide receiver position, and the Bengals couldn't stop Cup.
Vaughn
The
Jeffrey.
Bengals couldn't stop the Browns that year, and we didn't have nobody either.
Well, then, if that were the case, then how come the Bengals were 2 minutes from the Super Bowl and you were watching like the rest of the NFL world?
Because they had a hot team. It's all about momentum. That dog, that you had the Rams had a defense that year that could have kept up if they were healthy. Could have kept up with the Ravens defense. A
And by
Steelers
the way,
defense. What are we
by the
talking
way,
about?
sorry, Melissa, but didn't the Rams didn't the Niners have a double division lead on the Niners in that NFC title game?
I don't talk about that game. I don't think about that game. I don't want to acknowledge that game. I hate that game. It's probably one of the worst losses they've had in the playoffs ever.
Even worse than the Super Bowls?
Because think about it this way, right? You had Jaquiski Tart, who doesn't make the interception that would have turned the game over. You have Garoppolo throwing up his normal hospital balls that normally get everyone almost killed. You have him throwing some weird ass backwards lateral weird thing to JaMychal Hasty of all running backs who has no hands. Like you couldn't have like screwed up the end of that game worse. And it was just like that was the first opportunity, because you remember that first year was the first year that came out of COVID, and the awful year where everybody and their mama got hurt, and we had like $100 million up in the box injured, and we're even kicked out of Santa Clara because of COVID regulations. So for you to build up to the championship game, and you guys had to get in last minute in overtime, week 18 against the Rams, and then lose what is a team that you essentially have shut down for about 3 years straight in that type of fashion. And that was the first time that Trent Williams had ever won a playoff game. So you remember Trent Williams never won with the Washington team,
right?
Because they lost that game, and then he had just survived cancer. He just was coming back. He brought hope when Joe Staley retired. So that was personally really, really crushing. Aside from the Ravens Super Bowl, that probably is one of the hardest losses I've ever had to see in the playoffs for me emotionally.
All right, I gotta get going, guys.
All right, Adam, I think we are ready to call it a night. It's almost 2 hours.
I got a boogie too.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Driving Top Productions. We went 2 hours. We talked a whole bunch of stuff. I want to wish everybody a good night. Adam, Jamie, Melissa, Big Rich, Evan, the Big D, signing off on Open Mic Night.